Today on the Doc Parsley podcast, we're going to talk about institutional bias in medicine and making everything political. Perhaps by now you have seen Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has announced that the military is going to start screening men 30 years old and older for low testosterone, or they're going to at least screen them for their testosterone level. Oh, the tragedy. The number of endocrinologists and urologists and experts in medical, whatever, former veteran, Navy, Army doctors who have something to say about this. And they aren't talking about the screening process. They've skipped the screening process. They aren't talking about the interpretation of the labs. They've skipped those. And they've gone on to the dangers and the irresponsibility of treating young men with testosterone. Now, I've read everything I can find on it. I've watched everything I can find on it. And Pete Hegseth, as far as I can tell, has not said anything about treatment. He hasn't said anything at all about what the standards are going to be. What he says is that he's going to screen men 30 years old and older for low T. Anybody who knows anything, definitely endocrinologists and urologists, who this is part of their specialty, should know that there are many, many causes of low T. And because there are many causes, there are many solutions. And you do not have to give testosterone to everybody who has low T. They could have obstructive sleep apnea, right? They could have chronic inflammation due to chronic overtraining. They could have chronic inflammation due to an untreated injury, leading to excess cortisol, leading to poor sleep, right? There's all sorts of things that could be involved here. They could have a prolactinoma for all we know, right? Like there's all sorts of things that we could be screening for. And apart from endocrinologists and urologists who see diseased men in the hospital, what Pete Hegseth has talked about is performance optimization. So I don't think they're going to wait for disease, although I don't know this either. I'm speculating, but it doesn't sound to me like he's looking at treating disease. It looks to me like he's looking at optimizing the performance and therefore resilience and recovery of the young war fighters that we have sometimes spent a decade in making by the time they're 30 years old. Like in my community of the SEALs. Now, when I went back to the SEAL teams as their physician in 2009, it was well known that we had a problem with low testosterone. Guys came and talked to me. Now, SEALs usually don't talk to their doctors about their problems because the doctor can put you on the bench, and the worst thing you can do for somebody who's actually really motivated to do their job in the military is put them on the bench. So they didn't want to go talk to a doctor who's going to say, oh, you might have a health problem, let's put you on the bench while we figure this out. They wanted to talk to a doctor who would say, well, let's figure out what's going on and make you better. And these guys came to me and they started talking to me about their mood. They started talking to me about their ability to concentrate, their motivation, their ability to focus, their mood stability, how snappy they were with their peers, how snappy they were with their wives or their families, or their generalized energy, their ability to work out hard, their ability to recover from working out hard, their ability to perform complex physical tasks and complex mental tasks while at work. And this all seemed to be on the decline. These men weren't old enough to be experiencing such a decline. But when I tested their serum markers, and I questioned them extensively, they didn't meet any category for disease. So I just dubbed it, hey, it's the SEAL syndrome. It's 2009. They've been in combat for 8 years. It's probably a lot like shell shock or combat fatigue or PTSD from these other wars that nobody ever really figured out what those things were. It was just a conglomeration of symptoms, and we've seen that again. And I told the SEALs straight up, I said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to your problem, but we'll figure out how to help you perform better. And we got into a whole host of lifestyle medicine. And a lot of those guys were taking Ambien, and a lot of those guys were using alcohol as a sleep aid, and a lot of them were using over-the-counter sleep aids. None of them were complaining about sleep because they're SEALs and they thought sleep was a luxury. So they weren't coming to me to say they needed help sleeping. As far as they were concerned, the 4 hours a night they were getting was fine. And I didn't know anything more about sleep myself. I didn't get any classes on sleep in medical school, and I didn't get any of my post-grad training. I didn't learn anything about sleep. So I started educating myself on sleep. Lo and behold, all your hormones are made during sleep, balanced while you're asleep. And that was a factor. And so I said, hey, let's see what we can do about that. Let's get you off of sleep drugs. Let's minimize your alcohol intake. And what do you think happened? Their testosterone went up, sometimes very significantly, sometimes doubled, even tripled. Their growth hormone went up, or their marker for growth hormone, their IGF-1 went up. Their estradiol levels would decrease. Their sex hormone binding globulin would decrease, freeing up some of the more of this higher total testosterone, giving them a higher free percentage. And guess what? A lot of the performance issues went away. It wasn't a 100% solution for everybody. Everybody didn't have the same problem. There is a significant amount of traumatic brain injury, something that endocrinologists and urologists don't see frequently. This is its own specialty, okay? It's not officially a specialty, but working as a military physician in a hospital does not make you an expert on operational medicine. Operational medicine is its own set of problems, and it's largely performance. I work with a lot of retired SEALs. I work with a few active duty guys here and there with there's very few things I can do. It's very limited, but I advise those guys. And we work with lifestyle first, right? We optimize sleep, we optimize nutrition, we optimize exercise, and we optimize stress mitigation. And those guys are already doing that. These are not the specialties of endocrinology. These are not the specialties of urology. They're not the specialties of anybody other than somebody who's really interested in this type of work to help high-performing people perform better. That's what I do. That's what lots of other doctors do. And that, to the best of my understanding, is what Pete Hegseth is suggesting, that we need to optimize the performance. It takes at least 10 years to make a very capable SEAL. There's a lot of injuries in those 10 years. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of overpressurization, blast injuries, minor to moderate TBIs. There's a lot of sleep deprivation. There's a lot of chaotic sleep. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of chronic injuries, chronic inflammation. There's a whole lot of stuff that's going on that does not neatly fit into endocrinology or urology. So please spare me the sanctimonious crap that we don't have enough urologists, we don't have enough endocrinologists. Nobody has said anything about that. When somebody has a bona fide endocrine disease causing their low testosterone, that may very well be something for an endocrinologist to see. However, Pete Hegseth did not say that the only solution they're going to have is testosterone replacement therapy. We can supplement the testosterone production pathway. We can optimize lifestyle. There's a lot of pharma that can be placed, as you well know as an endocrinologist, to help with their own production of testosterone, their own production with growth hormone, even if they decide to screen for that. Nobody is suggesting that we are going to go replace the testosterone production of young men indefinitely and interfere with their spermatogenesis and their own testosterone production, atrophy their testicles, cause them who knows what kind of problems, right? Nobody's suggesting that as far as I can tell. But for the time being, let's not make this a political thing because you don't like the Trump administration or you do like the Trump administration or because you were pro-COVID or because you were anti-COVID. Let's get out of that mindset, please. Like, can we act like adults for a few minutes and go, hey, our military warfighters seem to be struggling with some issues, and we are going to screen to see what we can do to help with those issues. Urology, you want to do something? Go into the Navy dive manual and get rid of the digital rectal exam on 35-year-old divers, okay? Endocrinologist, you want to do something? Help us get fasting insulin as part of the normal screening for metabolic syndrome and prediabetes and type 2 diabetes and obesity and all that, right? Like, help us get that as part of the normal assay. There are things that we can all do to chip in within our specialty, and immediately jumping on some sort of policy is obviously flawed because they don't have your expertise. I think is pretty arrogant. You have no idea who's advising Pete Hegseth. I would imagine it's somebody with a lot of operational medicine experience. My findings led to a decade of multiple PhDs researching all sorts of hormonal and performance issues within special warfare, not just Navy, but Marines and Air Force and Army as well. There's now been publication of the operator syndrome, which is a lot of what I'm describing right now, which again is like shell shock or combat fatigue or other things that have been listed in other wars. But there is a known physiologic cause to the type of training and combat that our warfighters are doing. And if we can do something to optimize their performance and minimize their suffering, why in the hell would we not? That'll do it for today's session. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.